Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of On Point, hosted by our parent company, Focus on Liberia. Sitting in today will be our CEO, Mr. Dennis Jah, who is the father of the beta ball, political beta ball. Right in the middle, he asked the question, no favor. We are going to be hearing from him, but in the meantime, we are going to be discussing issues of pertinent concerns to the Liberian community, our nation, as it relates to current events in Liberia. We are going to be talking about the Joseph Boyka ferry issue in Grand Bassa County. We are going to also be talking about the guru, the godfather of Bassa politics, or of major traditional politics in Liberia. We're going to be talking about Charles Walker Bronsky and his criticisms of Joseph Boyka, why Joseph Boyka he considers is a tribalist. We're going to delve into that. I think there are several other folks that have gone along that line, and he is not alone. I think Mr. Costa has also referred to Joseph Boyka as unredeemable, someone who he perceived as someone who cannot actually be fair. We are also going to be delving into issues in Lofa County. When we are talking about Lofa County, we're talking about our traditional, something we call country devil. What they did in Lofa County by blocking the road, demanding the certification of the convicted felon, Brani Samokai. We're going to delve into that. I'm going to turn it over to our CEO and let him take it over from there and see where we go from here.
I want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. This is Focus on Liberia, and I'm fortunate tonight to be on Point, sitting in for Mr. George Tule. Mr. Tule and Mr. Gilman, they don't agree. I think the only thing that both of them agree on is one lives in Florida and the other guy lives in Canada. That's all. Apart from that, they don't agree on anything. And so they make a very good couple right here on Focus on Liberia discussing On Point. I'm going to try my possible best to see if I can even pretend to be as George. But again, it's On Point, and as Jerome said, we're going to be discussing the VP's ferry donation to the people of Bassa. Or is it Edana? We're going to find out. Councillor Bromsky criticism of Mr. Boyka, saying, well, he's playing into the Concord country divide. And also, the traditional elders, the country devil, in Lofa County, they are getting deeply involved in politics. Should they or should they not? We're going to delve into that. So let's get this started. This is On Point, and Mr. Gayman, we're going to start with the issue of the ferry donation in Grand Bassa. Give us a background here.
Well, based on the stories that I'm getting from Grand Bassa County, and I was fortunate to have interviewed the vice mayor of Edina City. Her name is Mrs. Azetta Spiller. She said this ferry issue is nothing new. In 2017, when then Vice President Joseph Boyka was running for the presidency, he visited Edina City. And when he went to the ferry station, he felt very bad and saddened that a city of that magnitude, of that historical effect, will have a boat, basically a canoe, crossing those many folks. And he was afraid and sympathized with them for the lives of the folks. It's a big river. So he pledged in 2017 that win or lose, he was going to donate a ferry to them. And the folks were happy, they were jubilant, and there was jubilation everywhere. 4 years later, they didn't hear from Joseph Boyka. And finally, a few months ago, Joseph Boyka called them to a meeting and said, the ferry is finally here. They showed them the ferry, the name of the city. They said the ferry donated to the city of Edina from the Joseph Boyka Foundation with his photos on it. Everybody was happy. They set a date for the dedication of the ferry. And while the folks were in the meeting, when they showed up, they saw the ferry. The nomenclature have changed. It had gone from the city of Edina to Grand Bassa County as a whole. And the city of Edina are saying, listen, this is untrue. This is unbelievable. We made a special request to the vice president. We also have a financial economic interest here. When we operate our little ferry, we cross people, and whatever money we generate, we pay our stipends to our citizens and all of that. With the ferry coming, it will have been a major economic boost to our city. And upon that, they were shocked to find out that now 5 electoral districts in the county now will have a claim to this particular ferry. So the city of Edina got up and said, if the ferry comes to Edina, we are going to arrest the ferry. Here I am as a gentleman. I wrote the vice president a note, thank you note, congratulatory note for doing something major. Because in that area, we have had former presidents. That's the home of the Bronskins. That's the home of the Finleys and the Brookles. I mean, all the names you can think about come from that particular area, and they were not able to build a bridge or even have a ferry. And Joseph Boakai came to our aid and did that. Only to have this capsized at the 23rd hour by somebody changing the nomenclature on this particular ferry from the city of Edina to the people of Grand Bassa County. You are mute.
Mr. Gilman, I'm not from Grand Bassa. I'm not familiar. I passed through Buchanan, so I don't really remember. The first thing that jumped out of me is we call it John Pamboda Waste on John Rice. This ferry is still in Bassa, from what I'm understanding. It is not given to Riverset or Sino. It's being given to Bassa, and Edina is a subset of Bassa. What's the issue here?
Well, you are from the state of Georgia, and the state of Georgia, I want to believe you live in Atlanta, which has a demographic restriction also. It's the city of the state, basically, not the capital city, but it's the commercial hub of the city. So if the president of the United States came to Atlanta and saw the deplorable condition of, let's say, the State House or the City Hall, and said, I'm going to rebuild the City Hall of Atlanta, only to come and say, I'm now going to build the State House. And we know very well that Atlanta is not the capital city of the state of Georgia. We know that. So for you to say that we're going to change the nomenclature from City Hall to the State House, it makes what we call deception, because we are saying the folks from number 5 district that has no water rights, people from number 4 that have no water rights, people from number 3 that have no water rights, how can they now join the city of Edina to say we are now also, whatever revenue in your territorial water, you have to share it with us because the boat belongs to all of us. This is where the whole thing is coming from. The thing is, what they are saying here is that they show that President.
Mr. Gilman, yes. First of all, I think where is this ferry going to be? Is it going to be okay? There is in order to come from Edina to go to Buchanan, you need to get in a ferry.
That's correct.
Will this ferry donated by the VP, will it be plying that route or not?
Well,
about the revenue.
It's both. The initial intent was that we have a commercial station in Edina.
Right.
It is the home of the ferry, the little ferry they have now. So they operate, they go to Buchanan across the water from Upper Buchanan, get people back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Those that live in Edina but work in Buchanan, they are ferried from Edina to Buchanan in the morning and then picked up for a small fee. And that fee subsidizes the running of the city of Edina. It was based upon that the request was made to the vice president, which he agreed in 2017, that win or lose, I'm going to make sure that I enhance the city of Edina's ability to cross people, but then make a little money to support the city. Now, how did I get from Edina? Because there are only 2 spots on this route. Edina City is the hub of all the ferries. So the ferry has to be docked in Edina City. Edina City has had the right to run that ferry for time immemorial. So this is where the question now is, how did we get from a ferry donated to Edina City to a ferry donated to the entire Grand Bassa County, to which everybody has
and we'll get there. What I'm trying to establish here is, but this ferry will still be running between Buchanan and Edina, except that it's going to be docking maybe in Buchanan or somewhere else.
That's correct.
Right. But it's still going to run that same route.
Well, this is the confusion we are having. If it's the question now was, when the initial request was made, we know that the ferry will run from Edina to Buchanan and back, from Upper Buchanan to Edina and back. Now that the VP has changed the nomenclature from Edina, Buchanan, to now the whole Grand Bassa County, the question now is, who has authority, operational authority over this? Where will it be docked?
Right.
Who's going to operate?
And who's supposed to decide this?
This is the chaos here. It was decided.
And I don't see how this would be a chaos, right? Because if the people of Buchanan, if the people of Grand Bassa know what their issues are, they know the issue is crossing over or traveling from Edina to Buchanan and back. If that's an issue and the VP is providing a ferry for this, I mean, I don't know where he's getting this ferry from, because I also learned that he gave another ferry in Lofa. So the VP should know something about ferries, right? And he's making this general donation to say, well, this is for the people of Bassa. Can the people of Bassa now decide how they can use this? They have to be hauling and pulling. I listened to the acting mayor's speech or the press conference, and the issue there she's raising is, hey, we need this ferry to generate revenue, right?
Yes.
It is not about transporting, because actually the ferry is going to ease the transportation problem between Edina and Buchanan. That problem will be solved by the ferry. But the only thing is here is we should get the money. We should get the proceeds from the ferry. Isn't that selfish?
No, it's not, because every city has a jurisdiction. Every city, the purpose of a city is to enhance its revenue, to revenue generation and paying your staff, like she said. The little ferry that we have there now, we use the money, the proceeds from that ferry to pay our staff. With a bigger ferry, our revenue base is going to be bigger, larger, and we'll be able to augment our city budget. That was the gist of the request, and Dr. Ambassador Boyka agreed to that. So, for instance, if a state, the state of Georgia, brought something to Atlanta and said it will be operated by the state, the first question the city of Atlanta is going to ask is, under whose jurisdiction? Right. Is it going to be run by the city? If it's going to be run by the city, if it's going to be docked in our city, obviously there will be costs associated with it. Then we have to come up with a budget as to what it's going to take for us to host the state ferry or transportation in our district. Same concept here. It's not only about the ferry, but it's about a promise made and a promise broken. So this is why the politics came into it, because a few days ago, 48 hours before the dedication, it was all a gift to the city of Edina, and they were jubilant. They were jubilating. Right. Now all of a sudden, like I'm from number 3 district. I'm from number 3 district in Grand Bassa County. We have no waterways there. So why should I go to Edina in their territorial water and say, listen, like I say, this thing belongs to us, so we need a share of what the city generates? I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Right. So, but where you think the problem is coming from now? Because according to this acting city mayor, VP Boyka even announced it during the program that this ferry belongs to Edina. So where you think this issue is coming from? Why this confusion? And where does it emanate?
Well, it is this politics of the vice presidential slot. We understand that Senator Nyobli Kanga is pressuring or putting in the bid to become the vice presidential candidate for Joseph Boakai. So what she has advised him to do is, listen, if you want to have a greater impact, you want to have it on the whole of the county and not just a segment of the county. So it would behoove you to not just give it to Edina, but give it to the entire county without taking into account the promise made 4 years ago by the vice president. And 24 hours prior to the dedication, it was already on the ferry that donated to the city of Edina. So folks are saying now that Boyka is incapable of making decisions. He flip-flops, and he's being pulled by the nose by his handlers. How can you do this in 24 hours? People came in, and the city mayor and their staff, everybody came in and looked at the ferry. Their time for the dedication, their names have been painted over and a new name. I mean, this is more than just a ferry. This is why we are having the issue we are having. It is a man who some would say lacks the spine to make decisions. If Nyobli Kanga have come to him and say, listen, it will benefit you in 2023, if you donate this canoe or this ferry to the entire county, then everybody can vote for you. But if you donate it to Edina alone, that's a small part. In fact, the smallest district in Grand Bassa County.
You are assuming, right?
Well, obviously, everybody knows it's political time. Why else would that? Why else would be the cause of that happening within 24 hours?
And talking about Senator Nyobli Kanga, she posted on her Facebook on November 30th, thanks to Joseph. I think there's a typo there in the name Boakai. Thanks to Joseph Boakai Foundation for the ferry donated to the people of Bassa today. So I think this has become a political issue. Even if that was given to Edina, Senator Kanga can still call it the people of Bassa because Edina has the people of Bassa.
Well, this is if you look at you can see that everything was done hastily here. If you saw what you just read, the senator herself cannot even spell correctly the name of Joseph Boyka. You can see how she spelled it there. It's Borkai. So these are folks who do not do due diligence. We are talking about editing. We're talking about proofreading. We're talking about all of those things that have something to do with integrity.
I think you are reading too much into this thing. We all make typos on Facebook.
Well, CEO, I know that my CEO last name is JAH. When I'm doing what we're doing here, I make sure when I write stuff, we reread and we edit to make sure that people of that importance to you, somebody that you contend, that you respect, and you want to be the president of the country, that you misspell his name, and it's been there 5 days, and nobody on your staff can look at you and say, listen, we misspelled the president's name, or somebody needs to go and make. Nobody has been able to catch that. So that tells you it goes to the root of what's happening here. Within 24 hours, the ferry had gone from Edina to Grand Bassa County as a whole, and in the haste to make that announcement, everything else fell apart, and nobody cared to even edit. So this is where we are at this point. The Bassa people are upset.
I too, I get upset if people who know me misspell my name, or sometimes they call me J instead of saying Ja. So I don't really like that. But I think Senator Nyobli Kanga, if you are listening, please make that correction because Mr. Gilman is reading into it now, like you were doing this thing history. Let's talk about the former Vice President Boakai for a moment. You are saying you are reading that this means that he's being pulled by the nose. Okay, this is a gift. Traditionally, in our Liberian culture, if you are giving gift to someone, right, you don't want to be shouting about it. So you made a donation. Here is a donation. So you will expect adults now to handle this as a donation. But what I saw is the acting mayor of Edina is not able to call the vice president or the former vice president on the phone and say, hey, what's going on here? This is what I was told, but this is what's happening. Because she was at the occasion, she said, and then she stood and said, well, they were supposed to be for Edina. Why is it not? I mean, I thought she would approach the vice president and say, hey, what's the situation? What's going on? And then on the other end, Senator Kanga now, who's supposed to be the leader of the county or the superintendent, all these people, they should be able to come together and resolve this quickly and not to drag this politically and then just maybe embarrass the former vice president.
Well, it's not when you look at the history of Joseph Boakai, he has been known for someone who is not firm enough, someone who is easily swayed, someone who does not have the administrative strength to actually make decisions when it counts. When you make a promise 4 years ago that when I win or lose, I'm going to come in and I'm going to alleviate this pain. My job here is to make sure.
Can we still assume that Idanas or Pharaoh may be on the way?
Well, hopefully, by now, this is going on 5 days. I would have expected former VP Boakai to have come on the air and say, listen, I understand what happened. This is the remedy. I made a mistake. The ferry to Edina will be coming now. We're going to have 2 ferries. One is coming for this county, and then one is coming from for Edina. If that would have been said by now, this would have been settled. But up to now, the vice president have not said anything. His handlers have not said anything. His camp have not said anything. And as we speak, the ferry is in a limbo. And the folks from Edina have made it clear. If the ferry comes to Edina, we are going to arrest the ferry for coming in our territorial water. So you see, this good thing that Boakai started, that everybody was hailing him for, had turned out to be divisive. And as you will listen down the line, there are a lot of people from the Uris to the coastals of the world, and then the Godfather himself, Brunskin, said that Boakai is notorious for stuff like this, wherever he goes, the people are torn apart. So, you're going to delve into that, but this is the drip and drop effect of politics here on Joseph Boakai.
Thank you so much. And I think you are right. The former vice president should come up to clarify, or people from the Boakai's team should come up and clarify this, or if possible, if there's another ferry coming for Edina. And I don't think Edina should feel so entitled because somebody promised them during the campaign. If someone promised you during the campaign, especially they didn't win, and they renege on their promise, well, probably we can say that's the nature of politics in Liberia. People don't keep their promises. And you are a supporter of President Weah. President Weah has not kept his promises to the people either. So I don't know why this should be a big deal for especially when the people from the CDC quarters who know that the president has not kept those promises of the 4 million jobs and et cetera, will be pouncing on this that, hey, the former vice president has not kept his promise to the city of Edina. I think that this is a very cheap shot.
No, it's not. Remember, the vice president is saying that everybody else lack integrity. And he is the man who is the integrity person. He's the guy who you can rely on when he says his yes is his yes and his no is his no. And for him to flip-flop or to fail in that life, we have to actually tell him that he's only a politician. He's speaking double. He's double talking. How can you be a man of integrity, a man of your word, when you say yes is yes, no is no? Then 4 years ago, you promised a ferry. 24 hours before the ferry could be dedicated, my name and everything was written on it. Then you turn around and change my name. If you had a transcript.
I understand the acting city mayor is a sedition, right?
Well, it doesn't matter. If you.
What I'm saying is the CDC government that is notorious for not keeping promises, now she's the one that is shouting at the top of her lungs, talking about the man has not kept his promise.
Yeah, but you remember you branded us as people who don't keep our promise, and you will keep your promise. You are the man of integrity. You are the Joe Boakai that has wisdom, and your age and everything points to you being truthful and honest and the father of a nation. You have integrity. And when these things happen on your way, you become just an ordinary politician who wants to get votes. And if you don't get a vote, then Joseph Boakai said he was leaving from here almost a month now. He said, when I go, all these things that we are talking about will be brought under control. We will reconcile. Everything will be, it looks like everywhere he goes, there's fire everywhere. Instead of reconciling, we got now Bassa is greatly divided, and he's still not speaking, have not said a word.
we encourage all of you to put it together. Now we see number 9 for the CPP, Joseph N. Boakai, and the midfielder, Yambli Kanka, number 6, or heading to maybe Buchanan or Idena. We don't know. But we're going to leave it right there and go to our next issue right after this break.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Job.
You are muted.
Welcome back to Focus on Liberia. We're broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Our next issue is the issue of the late Councillor Charles Walker Bromskin calling VP Boakai out. And we want to take a listen, and I want to get your response to this.
FOB in this country, none of them saw themselves as Congo people or country people. It was never about dividing our country or tearing it apart. It was about changing a system of government that was not good for our people. These young men and women of the 90s heard about what the men and women of the 70s did. The Gabriel Barker Matthews, the Amos Sawyer, the Drew Mason, the Tukbanan Tipote. Theirs too. Was that because they were Congo, or because they were country, or because they belonged to any particular tribe, or because they wanted to change a system of government? And that is what we aspire to do today. What troubles me is to hear a sitting vice president, Joseph Boakai, and his men trying to tear our country apart. We are a post-conflict nation. Our peace is fragile. What we need to do is to reconcile and bring our people together. Not to separate us, not to divide us, not to destroy this country anymore. Joe used to be my friend. He too might have been a friend of Bromsky when I came home. Since he decided to run for the presidency, I don't think Joe and I have agreed on much. But there's one thing I agree with him about. No Congo man should be president of Liberia again. But there's another side of that story, Joe. No countryman should be president of Liberia either. What Liberia needs today is a true Liberian who is most qualified to lead our country. It doesn't matter whether you are Kru or Grebo, whether you're Madingo or Kran, whether you're Basso or Pele or Gio or Mano. If you are Liberian and you are qualified to lead the country, it is time that you step forward and lead. I don't understand why Joe will run away from his record. He's been vice president for 12 years, Joe. I want to take tonight to challenge you. Come out. You and those fellas you got supporting you. Let's put our record forward. Let's put our vision forward and stop this bullshit about who Congo and who country. It is time that we put Liberia first. I heard President Sirleaf doing her annual message, the last annual message she's going to give to this nation, saying that she and her vice president have accomplished so much. Two things they've been not able to accomplish or to handle: corruption and reconciliation. Now I can appreciate why Ellen Johnson Sirleaf could not reconcile this country. She has been working for years with a man who's trying to tear our country apart. It's difficult to reconcile when your partner is not with you.
Mr. Goodman, that
Yes,
was the
sir.
voice of Councillor Charles Walker Bromsky, the standard bearer of the Liberty Party at that time. What's your reaction?
Well, you know, I think the philosopher used to say, the truth is a very stubborn thing. For every time it is crushed to the ground, it will rise up. This is just one of many of the films that we have on Joseph Boakai as to why a man who says he's the father of a nation, the father of the children. Then on the other hand, he is there stirring a fire, putting us against each other. He's making us to fight. We are basically tearing each other apart while he sits in the background. And his handlers are saying, just like a hound dog, they're going to sit in the back and say, "Sk, sk, sk." And when they do that, all the dog does is going after people. And this is what's happening here. We are talking, this is not just Bronskin. I think Joseph Boakai's own camp, one of his spokesperson, one of his own campaign manager, Henry Costa, said it. So not only is he a tribalist, but he's unredeemable. This is a man.
Mr. Goodman,
Yes.
why is this video coming out now? I know the late Bromsky worked with Mr. Boakai before his passing. They worked together, right? They went to the Supreme Court together. They did all this together. They probably formed the CPP together. Where is this coming from now?
Well, you see, Bronsky's fight to the Supreme Court, it was not based on tribalism or partisan. It was on constitutional issues.
Right, but if Boakai was the way he's claiming, he portrayed him to be here now, Boakai would have gone with him to the Supreme Court.
Well, you remember, Boakai wanted one thing. Boakai had the most to lose. Boakai found out.
Boakai was already qualified to run in the second term.
That's correct.
The second round.
That's correct. And remember, Boakai did not file. He didn't file any complaint. The complaint was filed by Councillor Bronsky on the constitutional issue, constitutionality of the process. That the process has to be, he uses this word that says, we want it to be to the legal, logical conclusion. It was not based on tribalism. It was not based on, it is my time. It was not based on,
That's exactly my point. So Boakai was on the issues and went with Bromsky to the Supreme Court. But in the first place, do we have any recording of Boakai saying this or there's going to be no Congo man to be president in Liberia again?
Yes.
Or Where is that? Where is the evidence?
Well, it's in due time. These things are going to come out. Where, if he didn't say it explicitly, he endorsed it. We are talking about people who are political ventriloquists. They have other people saying their things, but and my own brother, when from the vice president's office, you could see, and I got a lot of emails and posting from the vice president's office, and my own friend Anthony Kessely, I took him to task on this. There were several of them that have planned to go after the president, the former president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, when they got elected, and the names that were being put forward were all names from the Northeast, the Northwest, people from Lofard. I mean, when you look at when you saw him on stage, everybody that surrounded him were all people from his tribal group. So most people are not comfortable with that.
It's very easy to say those things, Mr. Gaiman. Oh, these people are all from Lofard. These are from his tribal group. You can, anybody can make those claims, right? But where is the proof? Can you actually list for me the people around Bromsky and list how many of them are from Lofard, how many of them from Nimba, or how many of them are Kisi and the rest of it? Because
well,
as him about this tribalism, but nobody has been able to show either a recording or any newspaper clipping of Boakai saying such things.
Well, like I'm telling you, this is not the beginning. The campaign have not started. We have mountains of evidence. His postings, his surrogates, people that speaks for him, people that write for him, and all of those things, that the inconsistencies, including his own spokesperson. Now, Mr. Costa, we have a dossier of conversations and everything else between him and everybody. We have those, and they are coming. This is just the introduction of who Joseph Boakai is and what we're going to make sure we have to contrast here. We're going to compare and contrast.
I mean, are you insinuating that whatever comes out of Costa's mouth is the gospel? So well, if Costa once said that Joseph Newman Boakai were XYZ, and he's the one now turning around to be an advocate for Joseph Boakai, he probably found that what he said wasn't true. That he has come closer to the man, he has known the man, now he has seen the true Joseph M. Boakai, and he's able to repent from whatever he said.
Well, listen, words have meanings in public policies, in politics. We say words have meanings.
But you can retract your words. You can
listen, you can retract all you want. We talk about the veracity and the validity of the word. For instance, we've seen someone like Emma Sawyer that have been in the limelight from the time you and I were never born, that worked with Joseph Boakai over decades, that fired Joseph Boakai while he was in authority, that he could debunk some of these things. He didn't do that until he retired and collected his benefits.
It doesn't matter.
And then he come out now and say, "Oh, I made a mistake 25 years ago. I didn't fire him because he was incompetent. I fired him because somebody made me do it." People who are of rational minds will come and say, "Listen, it doesn't matter anymore when you were in the game. You didn't make it."
Let us not introduce that other side of it, right? Because probably nobody asked Dr. Sawyer. Now he was asked, and he said the truth, perhaps. But I don't want to get into that. But let's look at Councillor Bromsky, the late Bromsky. Sometimes when somebody is dead, it's not, but we still, because he's a political leader, so we still talk about him. Let's look at Councillor Bromsky's record. He was the one who said they were going to beat Bassa Dumboy in the mansion. Right?
That's correct.
Councillor Bromsky, the entire LP centered around Grand Bassa. And when he left, he passed it on to someone from Bassa. So, what right has he got to talk to Joseph Newman Boakai about tribalism if he himself has skeleton in his closet?
He has no skeleton, as you can understand.
Everything about LP is Bassa.
That's not true. That's not true.
Liberty Party has not gone beyond Grand Bassa County.
That's not true.
It was now time to beat Dumboy in the executive mansion.
That's true. We also
going to make it a Bassa mansion.
We also understand that it was Charles Bromsky that went to Lofard and brought Zago into the party. It was Bromsky that went and brought Liberty into the party. It was Bronski that brought all of these people into the Liberty. In fact, it was Bronski that went to Lofa and brought a young man by the name of George Tully, and brought you to George Tully and say, you come in here and be one of my. So this is a man.
Party besides Grand Bassa. Show me anywhere else. There's no Liberty Party in Sino.
Well, Liberty Party won. Steve Zago represent Liberty Party in Lofa.
I mean, what do they have any headquarters? Do they have any?
They have headquarters in Nima. They have headquarters in that. And I want to believe they have. I want to believe they have headquarters in Sino too. Just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know, but all we saw was everything about Liberty Party was Grand Bassa. That's why when Musa Bility was introduced, that's why all the trouble came, right? Because this guy is now Bassa man. He's coming from outside, and up to today, that issue continues because Musa Bility is saying has a non-Bassa person. So Councillor Bromsky talking about Boakai being, country and tribalism and all that. I don't want to buy that because Councillor Bromsky himself did not divorce Liberty Party from Grand Bassa County.
He did. The present chair, the chair of the.
You sounded like the people that say, "Oh, I don't hate black people. My friend is a black man. Oh, I don't hate black people because my employee is a black man." That's what you are doing. You are just picking people.
No,
Bromsky would try to hide the Bassa or the Bassa-ness, for the lack of a better word, of the Liberty Party by going to fish out these people. Oh, Harrison, come here. You are from Nimba or Zago, come. Emilia Ward, come here. All those kind of things. I think he doesn't have that moral ground to talk to JNB like that.
He does because why he didn't say that about Ellen? Why he didn't say that about Dennis Jar? Why he didn't say that about Bacchus Mouth? He didn't say that about Sawyer. He didn't say that.
Ellen, all of them.
He didn't say that about Gabriel Mole. He didn't say that about Moses Duopo. Why Joseph Boakai? He said after Joseph Boakai had served for 12 consecutive years.
They were fighting, right? They were fighting over they were competing for the presidency. So he had to throw shade at the VP.
The VP never said once that Bronsky was a tribalist. He was a Bassa man. He never said that once. He never debunked it. You are doing a better job debunking it because you are laborer enough to see both sides. Joseph Boakai is not so. The absence of his rebuttal, it means consent. He agreed that he's a tribalist. He has never said anything. Nobody for his camp has ever come and said otherwise. He accepted. He wouldn't argue. He wouldn't debate. In fact, Bronsky made it clear. He said, I want to debate him on the issue and let's put the records on the table. You got 12 years of vice president. You got 40 years of working from different organizations within the ministry, within the government. Put your record on the table and don't be biased toward tribalism by saying there will be no more Congo man president in this country. We don't want to hear that. Put your record, and he couldn't do that. So by the absence of a rebuttal, of a debate, of acceptance of a debate, tells you that Joseph Boakai agrees. He agreed with Bronsky that he himself is a tribalist.
No, man, don't say that. All right, let's leave it there and go to our final issue here, which is the issue of Country Devil. Someone told us, say, hey, don't use that name, it's derogatory. We're sorry. I mean, we want to put it plain to the Liberian people to see what this is all about. But this, we can say traditional society or whatever we call it. But the fact is, the Country Devil has gotten involved in national politics. Mr. Gilman, give us a little background about this issue. We saw something that I saw almost like a Country Devil press conference.
Well, when I'm not a member of I'm a member of the Christian Society. I'm a Methodist, so I cannot serve two masters. For those who find a reference, they say it's a school. Some people say it's a university. Whatever they call that.
It's longer name devil, but it's just a way. It's just a nickname, but actually it's an institution, and it doesn't run counter from what I learned. I'm not a member as well, and with all respect to the society, what I learned is it's an institution, so it doesn't run counter to Christian. So to say I'm a Christian, I'm not part of it. You can be Christian and still part of it. It doesn't they are not opposite. Go ahead, sir.
Well, when we were coming up, our folks have instilled in us that it was a secret society, a secret school where lessons were taught and where wisdom was impacted. And seldom do they come into the public view. Everything was settled.
Mr. There were no social media at that time. But go
Well,
ahead.
there were no social media, and
Right.
when we were growing up, we didn't see it, we didn't hear it. In fact, when you heard that they were meeting, it had that mystical impact on a child, on female, or anybody. So we take these things very seriously. For us now to see, because we know very well in Liberia, we just like the United States to some degree, we have separation of powers. We have separation of church and state. We also have the separation of our traditional culture and the constitutional culture. The constitutional culture takes precedence over everything else within the domains of the republic, that we know. So for the devil to come out to say, listen, you had an election, and we say our son won, and then the constitutional Supreme Court got involved and say, he is not this, he's not that. All of those things should be swept under the rug. If we don't have our son certificated within 14 days, something mystical, something nasty is going to happen. That, to me, is where the line was crossed. If they have come up and say, listen, through our representation to the executive of the country.
Mr. Gaiman, the
Yes.
line was crossed because that's a traditional society. What if the people of Lofa, the elders, because let's look at this thing as the elders and that institution coming together, because remind you now, the traditional society and the government or those laws, they run side by side. So they have jurisdiction in those areas. What is his name? Zanza Chief Zanza Kawala, right?
Kawala.
Chief Zanza Kawala has that group, right?
That's
so
correct.
If that's a recognized institution in the country, and they come up and they give that ultimatum out of anger, because you see, to be honest, whatever the Supreme Court, let's say, I mean, the whole Samuka issue is still in a limbo. The people say, well, we deserve 2 representation in the Senate. We have only 1.
That's
a
correct.
legitimate issue.
That's
right?
correct.
And they
That's
have
correct.
tried in vain for the past 1 year to get this issue. And so their highest authority now has come out and say, we want a resolution to this. What's wrong with that?
Excellent. I'm on board with them. That listen, Lofa County deserves full representation. We give you up to this point to have our representation respected, and that will be fine. The reason why they fought to have representation, to have an office in the executive branch of government, is to have representation there. Their representation and their representative is Zanza Kawala, through which they're supposed to channel their information, their requests, or their grievances. And then at a cabinet meeting, Zanza Kawala presents this to the cabinet, to the executive. Okay? Now, if you left out your representative or your senator, your representative, and now you're taking matters into your own hands, then you have crossed the line. That means that Zanza Kawala no longer has any power to represent them in the House. So what we are saying here is we are with the people of Lofa that they deserve full representation. The executive, not even the executive, it is the Supreme Court and the NDC supposed to decide at this point now that, listen, there is a vacancy in Lofa County and we need a by-election to fill that because the Constitution forbid Mr. Samuka from being senator because he's a convicted felon. Okay, that would be the case that we always agree on, but to go and then block traffic, to impede the progress of other folks. This our constitution calls for the free movement of all citizens. A group of folks cannot be vigilante and say nobody is going to move as of our mandate. That is constitutionally wrong and it should not be accepted. Do they have a point that they deserve representation? Yes.
Right. So how can the citizens, if the citizens, I mean, roadblocks and peaceful demonstrations happen all the time? Or is it because they say country devil involved? That's the issue?
No, you saw where they did a roadblock. It is the roadblock between, every other county and Lofa County, where they went to the bridge and no car will cross, nobody goes across. And you are impeding the progress, the free movement of a society. That is unconstitutional. The government cannot afford to do that.
And what is constitutional is to stop Lofa from being represented in.
No, Lofa have the right to make the appeal through their representation. That
don't you see, even during the election, there was some involvement from the traditional society. Some say the country devil came and took the ballot box. So isn't this, when you see this as a weakness on the central government to be able to control these areas? Because wherein the people are not feeling your presence or their representation or being protected under the law, they will take matters in their own hands. Is this not a failure of the CDC-led government?
Well, central government, to some degree, I agree with you, because even I was incensed when I heard that the country devil, wherever they are, went into the voting booth and demanded that a woman should not run because a woman cannot lead in that part of the culture. A woman cannot lead. These are things that are unconstitutional, and the national government should not sit there and allow this to continue. Now it has become a slippery slope. It happens in one other area and the government did nothing, and it happened under the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government too, when a representative from Grand Julia County impregnated a 12-year-old girl that lived with him. When the government got to intervene, the child disappeared, and they took the child into the zoo bush in Grand Julia, and they say the government is powerless to go into the zoo bush to get this kid, and up to date, that kids have not been settled. So here we are, we have the slippery slope. It started with one group, and now it's going and going and going. Sooner or later, you're going to have people in Grand Bassa County and their devil or their society will say, we don't want this. So what are we coming up to? The government needs to step to the plate. Right. I say the people of Lofa need to engage the Supreme Court through the Supreme Court and not through blocking the road and impeding the progress of the regular citizens.
Two things here. We have heard over and over how other societies like the Freemasons, UBF, have actually controlled government. From what we hear, I'm not a member, that if you are part of this society, when you go to court, I mean, issues are just dealt with for you in your favor. Even the laws bend in your favor because of this secret society, right? So, but if it is contrary society, then it's bad because maybe we'll try to relegate it. The second thing here is the second point I want to make here is on the power of the traditional society sometimes taking laws in their own hand. In Bond County, it was reported, someone called me and said some young fellows from the Mandingo ethnic group that are traditionally not part of the Poro and the Sunday were conscripted. They were forced to join the traditional society. And up to now, so they joined, they marked them and all that. Up to now, there has been nothing heard. And people want to take the law into their own hands because they had their siblings, their children, who were initiated in the society against their will. So, they again come back to to President Weah and his government. Are they losing control?
Well, I would say this is something that, if you remember 2017, Mr. Uri came out and said the Macy will have to run the country. I think you heard that. And there was a major backlash when you say the Masons and the UBF, we know exactly where you're going. You are talking about settler societies, and there was a major backlash that, listen, you do not have to be a Mason, you do not have to be an All-Fellow, or you don't have to be a UBF person to run, to make that a stipulation or to make that a requirement for running our country. It is wrong, and we made it clear, and everybody spoke against that. Same concept here. If the Masons cannot come out and claim categorically that, listen, we are superior to everything else and we need to run this country because we are entitled, our indigenous society do not have that right to do the same thing. I have never seen the Masons go and say, today this is not happening. Yes, corruption is in those.
I mean, the Masons are Salon have the power, so they're not going to do that. It is these other societies that are relegated to the back seat or that are suppressed in a way they will come out and do such a thing. But let's take some comments here and then open our phone lines. The lines, the number is on the screen, 605-313-6004. The code is 791403. You are listening to On Point with Jerome Gilman and George Kanatule, and I'm sitting in for George Kanatule, who couldn't be here. So call the number is on your screen. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to read your comments. Again, we are watching On Point on Focus on Liberia. I'm sitting in for Mr. George Kanatule, here with Mr. Jerome Gilman, the host of On Point. At this time, let's get some comments from our viewers here. Kuya Glaciers, following from Zulu Whiskey. Keller Sarah say, you guys should ask for the indigenous names of these masquerades. Country devil is derogatory. We apologize. Say the term country devil is an insult. Culture illiterates cannot define our tradition. Okay. Facebook user say JNB needs to honor his pledge and give the ferry to Edina. More comments here. He said if that Edina will have no control over the revenue and the activities if this is for the whole of Bassa. Rambeli Yanle, please be very explicit about this issue. Sarah Putu Way, this is how witchcraft activities occur in this ferry business. If this ferry business will bring problem, let the old man take his ferry back, period. Facebook user again, but then this is a twofold issue. Ease transportation and revenue generation mean the ferry issue is twofold. Claire Richard say, oh man, please say former VP, not VP, sir. Yes, we can use those interchangeably. President is always president. VP is always VP. Ruth Gordon says, Sarah, my dear, we got too much problems. Yeah, these are some of the things that we see so. And Prince is watching us from Grand Bassa County. Rambley also say, Edina is number 1 and Buchanan is number 3. Please post my question, Reverend Yanli. I don't know which question you want me to post there. Flomo Livingstone, JNB did a great job in giving the people of Grand Bassa. Emmanuel Koikoi, you don't expect him to do this at your will. So he can give the Miriam Robert Bassa people get too much problem. I don't believe so. I think they should be able to resolve this. Prince Kringa again, what is the issue now concerning this ferry? Is Edina not part of Bassa or Edina is a country on its own? I think VP Bwaka was right to have said that the ferry is for the Bassa people than Edina alone. Timothy Dennis, how can you compare someone who professes to have integrity and someone who is perceived as not having integrity? Jerome, you and your city mayoress are jokers. It's now left with the county leadership to turn the donation to the people of Edina. How are they jokers? Come on and tell us something. Livingston said, what did the late Charles Brumkin do for the people of Edina who have been suffering from this ferry problem? Sam Brown, Emmanuel Kokoye, no, I don't. I don't play low. Sam Wallow, one day Liberians will be willing to admit and accept that there is a Congo and country divide in Liberia and dedicate the necessary time to a national dialogue on this topic so that this nation can come to grips with the long-standing impediment to true reconciliation. A lot of comments here. Galakpai Kalapli, there is a recording of Mr. Boakai thanking Christians for not allowing Islam to spread in Lofa County. Please share that video. He said the reason Bromsky said this about VP, but because VP was his key opponent. A lot of questions here. This comments. Joseph Boakai is a tribalist, no doubt about that. Boakai's vice presidency entourage was 95% of the people of Lofa. I mean, Lofa is not a tribe, though. That's 6 tribes are in there. Kpengba say it is obvious that a threat is unlawful. Even an unborn child knows that. I'm sorry if your understanding hasn't captured that portion of the Constitution that guides your everyday movement. So your assignment is to read the Constitution and get familiar. Good night. All right. Mr. Foley, Dylan Foley, I like the discussion about the country devils. Some of devil issues are becoming political. Mr. Gaiman, your response to those many comments, and if you want to call, the number is also on the screen. Go ahead, Mr. Gaiman.
Well, I know we are against time here. Thank you very much for sitting in. One of the things that I have always said, and people don't want to believe this, but I'm glad that Mr. Waller brought it up, is whether we want to squash this or not, we do have this country-Congo divide. It is a national travesty. We have to discuss it. We have to face it. We have to have that national dialogue and accept. When we were in counseling school, one of the things, the 4 things that you are required to do, first of all, admit that you have a problem. Then you identify the problem, accept it, then find solution to it. Not only that you find a solution to it, but that you put your solution into action, not just write a solution, but actually apply it. Let it be an applied science. We know that there is a Congo country divide here. Everybody knows this. But just like in this country where people don't want to talk about black and white issue, but we know it is here. It stares us in the face, even though we have done exceptionally well and we have gone far enough in these United States to address those issues through legislation, through public policy. But yet and still, people are talking about reparation and other things. It is there. Liberia has to have this conversation. I don't care how you sugarcoat it. It is the underlying issue to our problem. Somebody has to admit that something wrong was done, and somebody has to accept that, listen, we have to move on. Now we have accepted this. Then we'll move on. That's reconciliation. But if you put your finger in my eyes, and I know you did, and tears are running from my eyes, and I'm feeling it, and you deny that you ever put your finger in my eyes. This is where the argument is. And those are also...
But Mr. Gaiman, that is different. You know, recognizing that we have a Congo country problem is different from saying there will be no Congo man to become president, or there will be no countryman to become president, or the president will be, the mansion will belong to Bassa people. So those are 2 different things.
Well, they all fall under the same auspices here. If we are from the Southeast, okay, we have this attitude about entitlement. We are enlightened. We are cultured. Mostly when we say that, we mean on the western side. And those from Central and North Liberia, people who fell outside of the 40-mile radius, that for which President Tubman talked about a unification, bringing them into the fold. We notice these people came into the fold like almost 100 years after we have settled and divided everything, and now they are coming into it. And then we want to hold them up to our standards. So these are things that we have to reconcile. We have to say, listen, yeah, Grand Bassa County and Lofa County were not on the same footing. Okay, Grand Bassa County have produced several presidents and leadership of the country. We cannot compare the 2, but we can do something though to enhance education and everything else in Lofa County by maybe expanding the University of Liberia there and doing those things that will bring culture and everything else to bring parity. But until we do that, this is here. You and I know this. If you and I walk into a place and you are from Sino or Bassa or Kipamas or somewhere, and a guy from Lofa walks in, there's the inferiority things that go on with the old man. This man, the man from the countryside, he doesn't know what to do and all of this. And this thing was even more codified during the war. When you go to Basel, you will find out that when the rebels came to town, whether true or false, these beautiful homes that were built there, people were drinking water from the commode. They thought it was water. I don't know how true was this.
Yeah, that's not true. They're just trying to beat our people down.
Yeah, they try to beat our people down. Then I went into some homes during the April 14th thing when I was there. People took the computer from the University of Liberia, and they thought it was TV. And they took it home and they used it.
Those were all rumors. Nobody.
I saw this April 14th. I was there. So that one, I wasn't there for the war, but I was there for the April 14th one because I took part in that. So these are the things. And then
April 1479, there were no computers, were they?
Of course, there were computers. At the University of Liberia, you never had OPC. How to call it? Was it?
No, because what you're talking about there, the computers time was move or be removed when the president sent the soldier on the campus. That was the time of remote for computers.
Yeah, it was.
But
it
for
was not
1979 computers.
It was not a computer that you know now. How we used to call it. It's not a PC now that you know, but it was something that we used to do that. But these were the things we are talking about. So yes, we have to compensate for a 100-year gap between some other people and other folks. So we are saying this. We are not saying we want reparation, but the conversation needs to be had because there are underlying issues that we need to deal with. So I think Sam Waller has a point. When we talk about reconciliation, that is one of the areas that we have to address.
Oh, thank you. David saying there were no computers in 1979. I want to agree with that. William Dunbar say, Liberia Palava really hard to talk, especially Nathaniel Yema. Apparently, only Mason has the power to influence the courts and has absolute power in Liberian politics, not the country devil. This too is Liberia. Nobody dares question the decision of the Mason Grand Master, and he should automatically be the president of Liberia, according to one honorable. We shall take back our country from those. All right, they try to be okay. Yeah, those were the mainframe computer.
That's correct.
Okay. Pengba also says it's obvious the threat is unlawful. Even an unborn child knows that. Oh, I read that before. So, Sam Waller, how Dennis, you are doing it again. It is the same thing. There is no difference. Accept it and move on. Talking about the Congo country divide. Pan-African, of course, there's a Congo native divide. Well, Mr. Gayman, I will be ending on this note. We have no calls yet, so we're going to be closing down our phone lines. Let's get your closing comment for me. I thank you for accepting me to sit in for Mr. George Kanatule. I think there was a great show. We want to thank our viewers so much for tuning in to On Point. Before we ask for your closing comment, on top of the hour at 6 o'clock, the CEO of Spoon TV will be right here on Focus on Liberia on Prime Time Sunday, and I'm going to be the host. Then on Tuesday, we'll have FOL health contributor Abby Tyler will be here to talk about how the doctor come up with your diagnosis and your treatment plan. She says what you tell your provider plays a major part in determining your diagnosis and plan of care. And those two areas are the chief complaints and the history of present illness. Next Sunday, I'll be here with the leadership of the Bunubruan Refugee Camp to discuss the latest eviction and demolition facing the camp. We're going to be here. Of course, every Friday is the Literary Hour with Jackie Sire and K. Moses Namwe. We have every Saturday, we have FOL Marketplace with Gabriel Carter and Ellis Coffee. Mr. Gayman, back to you for your closing comments.
Yeah, thank you very much. One of the things that I want us to look at now is that starting next week, the 11th of December, we're going to have our county meet, and I'm a county meet enthusiast. We want our folks to come out here and show their county pride. The game is serious. It's going to be fun. So on next Sunday, my guest is going to be Mr. Charles Wadsworth. He's a historian of Liberian sports. He and I were on the phone for over 2 hours, and he was just educating me on the county meet, the objective, the missions and the goals of the county meet. He has agreed to be here next Sunday to have that. So we want people from, let's bring out our flavor, the fever of a county meet. Let's support our different counties. Let's make sure that our women are supported in the kickball, basketball, soccer, you name it. It's county meet, y'all, something to bring us together. I know the people from Sino and Grand Crew have beat up on us all the time. It's time for us to get them back. So let's come out here and whip this thing into frenzy. Until then, Mr. Jah, thank you very much. As always, we always say, whether you are in opposition, in position, whether you are for or pro, we are all Liberians, and we look forward to today at the 6 o'clock. I'm going to be right here waiting for Mr. Stanton Waterspoon. He was brave enough to come sit in that hot chair and get some of that bitter ball, so it's all right. Thank you very much for the effort. God bless.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home.